The ship groaned as if it had indigestion. That was Daniel's first thought when the alarms began to shriek and the lights flickered from sterile white to a sickly red. He was in the middle of fixing a cracked coolant pipe with duct tape and an optimistic prayer when the floor lurched sideways, tossing him face first into a toolbox. His nose throbbed. The toolbox, naturally, survived without a scratch. "Beautiful," he muttered, clutching his face. "This is exactly why they don't let humans design gravity systems, because we'd install banana peels on the floor just for fun." He staggered up, bracing himself against the wall as the ship jolted again. His comm bead crackled with static, then died. The escape pod indicator light near the bulkhead glowed green, promising salvation. He slapped the panel, the hatch hissed, and the pod jettisoned, empty. Daniel blinked. "Right. Of course. Launches without me. That's fine. I didn't want to live anyway." The next pod door refused to open at all, its status screen blinking smugly at him. He kicked it, hurt his foot, and hopped in place until the pain subsided. The alarms had now escalated to a screaming chorus, like a choir of angry banshees. Somewhere deep in the ship, metal shrieked against metal. He grabbed the nearest handhold and muttered, "If I survive this, I'm writing the angriest customer complaint letter in the history of letters." Then he heard it, pounding, muffled but insistent, from behind the emergency bulkhead ahead. He squinted at the sealed door. Another thud. A voice followed, clear, sharp, and definitely not human. "Open this door, you malfunctioning primates." Daniel's eyebrows shot up. "Oh good. Not only am I dying in a flying tin can, but I'm hallucinating angry space elves now." The pounding grew more urgent. Against his better judgment, he fumbled with the emergency release and the bulkhead slid open halfway before jamming. Through the gap he saw her. She looked almost human, almost. Tall, lean, with sharp cheekbones and hair that shimmered silver in the red light. But her ears stretched long and tapered, twitching slightly as if picking up sounds he couldn't. Her eyes narrowed when she saw him. "You," she snapped. "Get this door open, now." Daniel, still gripping his throbbing foot, managed a weak grin. "Hi. Quick question. Do your ears get interstellar reception? Because if so, we could really use a distress signal." Her glare could have incinerated small moons. "Are you defective?" "Possibly," he admitted. "I've hit my head 3 times in the last minute. Also, hi, I'm Daniel." She rolled her eyes, impressive, considering the ship shook violently again. He braced his shoulder against the bulkhead and shoved until the door groaned and scraped open wide enough for her to squeeze through. She stepped past him with the kind of grace one doesn't usually associate with collapsing starships. The moment she entered, the ship gave another lurch, sending Daniel sprawling into her. He bounced off like a clumsy meteor, muttering apologies. She steadied herself effortlessly, then grabbed his arm and yanked him upright. "You humans build ships like drunkards build ladders," she said. "That's unfair," Daniel replied. "Drunkards at least double-check the steps." Despite herself, a tiny twitch at the corner of her lips betrayed amusement. She quickly smothered it, folding her arms. "Where is the nearest functioning escape pod?" Daniel gestured vaguely down the corridor. "Well, the first one ejected without me. The second one's in a committed relationship with its error code. The third is, probably married to the second. Honestly, our odds aren't great." She stared at him in disbelief. "You're joking." "Constantly," he said. "It's a coping mechanism. Otherwise I'd be curled in the corner screaming, and that's just embarrassing in mixed company." Another shudder rattled the ship, and overhead panels spat sparks. She didn't flinch. Daniel definitely did. She scanned the corridor, then started marching toward the engineering section. The ship groaned as if it had indigestion. That was Daniel's first thought when the alarms began to shriek and the lights flickered from sterile white to a sickly red. He was in the middle of fixing a cracked coolant pipe with duct tape and an optimistic prayer when the floor lurched sideways, tossing him face first into a toolbox. His nose throbbed. The toolbox, naturally, survived without a scratch. "Beautiful," he muttered, clutching his face. "This is exactly why they don't let humans design gravity systems, because we'd install banana peels on the floor just for fun." He staggered up, bracing himself against the wall as the ship jolted again. His comm bead crackled with static, then died. The escape pod indicator light near the bulkhead glowed green, promising salvation. He slapped the panel, the hatch hissed, and the pod jettisoned, empty. Daniel blinked. "Right. Of course. Launches without me. That's fine. I didn't want to live anyway." The next pod door refused to open at all, its status screen blinking smugly at him. He kicked it, hurt his foot, and hopped in place until the pain subsided. The alarms had now escalated to a screaming chorus, like a choir of angry banshees. Somewhere deep in the ship, metal shrieked against metal. He grabbed the nearest handhold and muttered, "If I survive this, I'm writing the angriest customer complaint letter in the history of letters." Then he heard it, pounding, muffled but insistent, from behind the emergency bulkhead ahead. He squinted at the sealed door. Another thud. A voice followed, clear, sharp, and definitely not human. "Open this door, you malfunctioning primates." Daniel's eyebrows shot up. "Oh good. Not only am I dying in a flying tin can, but I'm hallucinating angry space elves now." The pounding grew more urgent. Against his better judgment, he fumbled with the emergency release and the bulkhead slid open halfway before jamming. Through the gap he saw her. She looked almost human, almost. Tall, lean, with sharp cheekbones and hair that shimmered silver in the red light. But her ears stretched long and tapered, twitching slightly as if picking up sounds he couldn't. Her eyes narrowed when she saw him. "You," she snapped. "Get this door open, now." Daniel, still gripping his throbbing foot, managed a weak grin. "Hi. Quick question. Do your ears get interstellar reception? Because if so, we could really use a distress signal." Her glare could have incinerated small moons. "Are you defective?" "Possibly," he admitted. "I've hit my head 3 times in the last minute. Also, hi, I'm Daniel." She rolled her eyes, impressive, considering the ship shook violently again. He braced his shoulder against the bulkhead and shoved until the door groaned and scraped open wide enough for her to squeeze through. She stepped past him with the kind of grace one doesn't usually associate with collapsing starships. The moment she entered, the ship gave another lurch, sending Daniel sprawling into her. He bounced off like a clumsy meteor, muttering apologies. She steadied herself effortlessly, then grabbed his arm and yanked him upright. "You humans build ships like drunkards build ladders," she said. "That's unfair," Daniel replied. "Drunkards at least double-check the steps." Despite herself, a tiny twitch at the corner of her lips betrayed amusement. She quickly smothered it, folding her arms. "Where is the nearest functioning escape pod?" Daniel gestured vaguely down the corridor. "Well, the first one ejected without me. The second one's in a committed relationship with its error code. The third is, probably married to the second. Honestly, our odds aren't great." She stared at him in disbelief. "You're joking." "Constantly," he said. "It's a coping mechanism. Otherwise I'd be curled in the corner screaming, and that's just embarrassing in mixed company." Another shudder rattled the ship, and overhead panels spat sparks. She didn't flinch. Daniel definitely did. She scanned the corridor, then started marching toward the engineering section. He scrambled after her, nearly tripping on a loose cable. "You seem awfully calm for someone stuck on a dying ship," he said. Her ears flicked back, catching another metallic groan from deeper inside the hull. "Panic is inefficient." Daniel snorted. "Great, I'm trapped with a philosopher. Efficiency is overrated. Humor, now that's practical. For example, if the ship explodes, we'll at least die laughing. She shot him a look. Do you ever stop talking? Not if I can help it, he said cheerfully. Dead air is awkward. The ship groaned again, and Daniel muttered under his breath, so's dying in one. She ignored him, kneeling by a wall console and prying open the panel with elegant precision. Sparks leapt out, illuminating her silver hair. Her fingers moved deftly, rerouting circuits with a speed Daniel could barely follow. He whistled low. You sure you're not the saboteur? He asked. Because you look awfully comfortable breaking into the ship's guts. She didn't look up. If I were, you'd already be dead. Daniel considered that, then grinned. Fair. I like you. For the first time, she glanced at him with something other than disdain. It wasn't quite a smile, but it wasn't pure scorn either. Her ears twitched again as the ship's alarms shifted pitch, like a dying animal gasping for breath. Daniel exhaled slowly. So, guess it's just you and me. She straightened, wiping a smudge of grease from her cheek. Unfortunately. He clapped his hands together. Well, lucky for you, I'm excellent company in the apocalypse. Shall we not die horribly? And with that, the lights flickered out, plunging them into darkness. Underscore 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 underscore. Daniel smacked the side of the wall in the dark, hoping the lights would miraculously flicker back on. Nothing. His hand stung. Great. Darkness. My old friend. You'd think spaceships that cost more than entire planets could afford a nightlight. A faint glow appeared as Serenia tapped her wrist cuff. Holographic symbols spilled out, casting pale light across the corridor. Daniel squinted at it. Neat. I've got one too, except mine just tells me the time and nags me to hydrate. Primitive, she said. Tragically accurate. The glow painted her face in shifting blues and greens as she manipulated the interface. She frowned, long ears twitching as if listening to something beyond human hearing. Life support is at 37%. Reactor output minimal. Navigation is offline. Daniel raised his hand like a student. Translation, we're drifting like a paper bag in the wind. She gave him a look. Yes. A paper bag about to ignite. Romantic, he said. Remind me to book this cruise line again. They moved cautiously down the corridor, Serenia guiding them with the shifting hologram. The silence of the ship pressed against them, broken only by distant groans of stressed metal. Daniel tried whistling but stopped after 2 notes when Serenia's ears twitched violently. Don't, she warned. He held up his hands. Fine. No music. Got it. But you're missing out on my flawless rendition of Lost in Space and Totally Doomed. A junction ahead split into 3 corridors. Daniel pointed left. That one looks friendly. Serenia ignored him and gestured right. Engineering. He sighed. Of course. Always engineering. Never the cafeteria. When they reached the engineering deck, the door resisted until Serenia keyed in an override sequence. Daniel peered over her shoulder. You type faster than I panic, and that's saying something. Inside, the reactor chamber loomed in shadows, humming faintly. Emergency strips along the floor glowed faint amber, like dying embers. Consoles flickered with erratic readouts. Daniel slapped the nearest one until it displayed something coherent. Sabotage, Serenia said flatly, studying the readings. Critical systems were disabled deliberately. Daniel let out a long sigh. Knew it. Machines don't hate me this much by accident. She tilted her head. Someone wanted me stranded. He pointed at himself. Correction, someone stranded us. Equal opportunity sabotage. I'm collateral damage. Which is unfair, because I didn't even get to vote on it. She crouched near the reactor's control matrix, delicate fingers tracing damaged conduits. Sparks spat when she touched one, and she didn't flinch. Daniel flinched enough for both of them. Can you fix it? He asked. Yes, she said without hesitation. Great, he replied. While you do that, I'll stand here making encouraging noises. Rah, go team. Her lips twitched again, but she kept working. Wires hissed as she reconnected them with eerie speed. Daniel leaned against the wall, arms crossed. So, Serenia, right? What brings you aboard this luxury death trap? Classified. Sounds exciting. My job is repairing pipes with tape. Very heroic. She didn't answer. He sighed dramatically. Fine, keep your secrets. I'll just imagine you're a galaxy-famous pop star traveling incognito. She glanced at him sharply. Why would you think that? Because if you started singing, the emergency lights would probably turn themselves back on. For the first time, she actually laughed, a short, sharp sound, as though she wasn't used to the motion. Daniel blinked in surprise. Whoa. She laughs. Universe, mark the date. She composed herself quickly. Don't get used to it. The console beeped suddenly, and systems across the room flickered back to partial life. Serenia straightened, brushing sparks from her hands. Reactor stabilized. For now. Daniel clapped. Bravo. If we survive, remind me to nominate you for Employee of the Month. Of what month? This ship won't last another day. He frowned. Always with the optimism. Her ears twitched again. She froze, eyes narrowing. Do you hear that? Daniel listened. Only the reactor's hum and his own heartbeat. Hear what? Something moving, she whispered. He swallowed. If it's the sound of another escape pod ejecting without us, I'm going to cry. A faint scrape echoed from the dark corridor beyond engineering. Serenia's hand hovered near her side, where a slim metallic device materialized with a flick of her wrist, a weapon unlike anything Daniel had seen. He whispered, okay, first of all, that's cool. Second of all, why didn't you pull that out earlier? Like when we were nearly pancaked by the hull breach? She ignored him, scanning the shadows. The scrape came again, closer this time. Daniel instinctively grabbed a wrench off the console. He held it like a baseball bat. Perfect, Serenia muttered. A primitive tool. Hey, he whispered, this wrench has saved more lives than your glowing toothpick ever will. Something stirred in the dark, metal clicking against metal, and a pair of faint red optics blinked awake. Daniel's stomach dropped. Serenia's ears went rigid. Drone, she said, just me. He raised a finger. First of all, flattering for you. Second, rude for me. I feel very left out. Her lips almost curved again, but she buried it quickly. It means they won't stop until I'm delivered to whoever sent the order. Daniel slumped back. Wonderful. I get to be the sidekick in someone else's kidnapping attempt. Story of my life. The console sparked, cutting the conversation short. Serenia cursed under her breath and pulled back. We don't have time. The drones will find us soon. Daniel got to his feet, brandishing the bent wrench. Let them come. I've upgraded this baby to abstract art. No machine can resist confusion. She gave him a flat look. You will be the death of me. Not if I can help it, he said, grinning. I'm surprisingly good at not dying. Years of practice. As if to prove him wrong, the door behind them shuddered under a heavy impact. Metal screeched. Red optics glowed faintly through the cracks. Daniel winced. Okay. Time to relocate. Quickly. Serenia tapped her cuff, generating a map of the ship's remaining habitable sections. She pointed to a narrow line branching toward the upper decks. Crew quarters. If we can reach them, there may be a manual override to eject the drones. Daniel nodded rapidly. Yes, let's do that. And maybe grab some snacks on the way. Running for our lives is hungry work. She didn't dignify that with a reply. She slammed her device against the console, overloading it. The panel erupted in sparks, the lights cutting out. The drones forced the door open just as the two of them slipped into another shaft above, climbing toward the quarters. Daniel huffed, hauling himself up the ladder. Next time, he wheezed, let's get trapped on a cruise ship. With buffets. And no homicidal robots. Serenia climbed effortlessly above him. Next time, don't be here at all. Harsh, he muttered, dragging himself up another rung. But fair. Behind them, the drones clattered into the dark, relentless. Daniel dragged himself through the hatch into crew quarters and flopped face-first onto the nearest bunk. The mattress felt like compressed concrete, but compared to crawling through ducts while murderous toasters clicked at his heels, it was heaven. Serenia stood at the doorway, listening, her ears twitching. They're still tracking us. Daniel lifted his head just enough to groan. Of course they are. Machines never get tired, never get hungry, never need a bathroom break. Meanwhile, I've got 3 bruises, a bent wrench, and a very strong craving for coffee. She ignored him and crossed to a control console bolted against the wall. The screen flickered weakly, half the keys sticking. She started tapping commands. Daniel rolled onto his back and pointed at her. You know, for someone who claimed she was just a guest, you sure have an intimate relationship with every computer on this ship. It's almost like you're not telling me something. I told you before, she said, not looking up. I omitted details. He propped himself on his elbows. Yes, but there's omitting details like not telling someone your middle name, and then there's omitting details like oh by the way I can hack military-grade drones in my sleep. She exhaled through her nose. If I explain, will you stop talking? Unlikely, but you can try. Her fingers stilled on the console. For a moment, the red glow from the emergency strips painted her face sharp. I wasn't traveling as a guest. I was being transported. Because some very powerful people want me delivered to their enemies. My existence makes certain governments nervous. Daniel blinked. Wait. You're, what? A political prisoner? Her lips pressed thin. Something like that. He sat up straighter, a grin creeping onto his face despite the gravity of it. I knew it. I'm trapped with royalty. Or a spy. Or, dare I say it, a royal spy. Which sounds like a terrible board game but a great story. She turned, fixing him with a stare. This isn't amusing. Everything's amusing if you tilt your head the right way, he said. Besides, you're clearly more important than me. I'm just the unlucky human who fixes pipes. You're the one they sent death drones for. I feel like we're in completely different leagues. Her ears twitched again. And yet, here you are. Still alive. He gave her a theatrical bow from the bunk. Years of practice. I'm like a cockroach, but charming. The console beeped, interrupting them. Serenia's eyes narrowed. The drones are converging. Whoever reprogrammed them gave them direct coordinates. Daniel groaned. They've got GPS. That's cheating. I thought we were playing tag, not hide-and-seek with orbital precision. She studied the display. We can't outrun them indefinitely. We'll need to mislead them. Finally, Daniel said, perking up. Something I'm good at. I've been misleading people since grade school. She arched a brow. I doubt your talents will be useful here. Don't underestimate me. I once convinced an entire repair crew that duct tape could substitute for a pressure valve. We survived. Mostly. She gave him a flat look but returned to the console. Her hands danced across the keys, rerouting signals, creating false sensor echoes. Daniel watched her work, impressed despite himself. You really are good at this, he said. Are your people all born with USB ports in their brains, or are you just special? Her lips quirked. Neither. But if you keep distracting me, we'll both be dead. Right, shutting up. For at least 30 seconds. The console hummed. Data flickered. Serena leaned back finally, satisfied. That should buy us time. I've rerouted the drones to the aft cargo bay. They'll search there first. Daniel gave her a thumbs up. Brilliant. While they're busy checking boxes of dehydrated noodles, we make our grand escape. Escape to where? She asked quietly. That stopped him. He rubbed the back of his neck. Good question. Do you have any brilliant alien tricks for, flying a half-dead ship through hostile space? Her silence was answer enough. Daniel sighed. Fantastic. Stranded, hunted, probably running out of air. Honestly, this is the best date I've had in years. She shot him a look so sharp he grinned wider. Before she could reply, the lights flickered, and the room vibrated with the sound of heavy movement outside the bulkhead. Serena stiffened. They're closer than I expected. Daniel's eyes widened. Wait, didn't you send them to the cargo bay? They adapted, she said grimly. Metal screeched as something began cutting through the door. Daniel raised his bent wrench like a knight raising a sword. Well, guess it's showtime again. Don't worry, I'll distract them while you save the galaxy. You'll get yourself killed, she snapped. Probably. But hey, at least they'll underestimate you while they're laughing at me. The door gave another shudder. Sparks rained as the drones cut deeper. Daniel swallowed hard, whispering, seriously, though, if you have any more of those shiny gadgets, now would be the time. She pulled another device from her belt, flicking it open with practiced ease. Stay behind me. Daniel snorted nervously. Gladly. You've got the laser toys. I've got, interpretive wrench dancing. The bulkhead split open with a deafening screech, red optics gleaming through the gap. Serena raised her weapon, Daniel raised his bent wrench, and the room filled with the metallic chorus of drones forcing their way inside. Daniel's arm ached from swinging the wrench, and the smell of burnt circuits clung to the air, but when the last drone dropped in a heap of sparking parts, he raised both arms like a victorious prizefighter. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you should always keep a wrench in your pocket. Multi-purpose. Repairs, defense, and very dramatic hero poses. Serena holstered her weapon, ears twitching as she scanned for more threats. Don't celebrate. There will be more. Daniel sagged against the wall, panting. Can't I have one moment? One heroic montage moment where I bask in my unexpected brilliance. She leveled a steady look at him. You were mostly in the way. He grinned. Exactly. That was the plan. I distracted them by being so irritating they forgot you were dangerous. Classic strategy. She almost smiled, but turned away quickly, kneeling at the sparking remains of a drone. She pulled free a blackened core, her expression tightening. The signal driving them came from within the ship. Daniel blinked. Wait, there's someone else still here. Not someone. A program. It's embedded in the ship's core systems. As long as we drift, the drones will regenerate. Daniel groaned. Great. Infinite murder Roombas. Just what I needed. He rubbed his forehead. So, what's the plan? Besides dying creatively? Her eyes lifted to the ceiling, as if she could see the ship's heart through the bulkheads. We destroy the control nexus. Daniel clapped once. Finally. A plan I understand. Smash the evil computer. Classic sci-fi resolution. I'm in. They hurried through flickering corridors toward the central core. Along the way, Daniel kept up a running commentary. You know, I've really grown attached to this ship. Not emotionally, obviously, because it's tried to kill me 3 times, but, structurally. I've dented almost every surface. It feels like home. Serena ignored him, but he didn't miss the way her ears twitched when she stifled a laugh. The control nexus loomed ahead, a massive crystalline cylinder pulsing faintly. Lines of code ran across its surface like veins. Serena approached with calm purpose, fingers flying across her wrist cuff to interface. Daniel lingered behind her, wrench in hand, feeling very underqualified. Can I help? He asked. Don't touch anything. He sighed. I knew you'd say that. The Nexus pulsed angrily as Serena's code battled the embedded program. She muttered commands in her own tongue, sweat beading on her brow. Daniel shifted nervously. So, in case this goes wrong, should I? I don't know, start writing our wills. Be quiet, she snapped, but her voice cracked with strain. The cylinder flared, projecting a shimmering construct into the air, a cold, mechanical face. Surrender the target, it droned. Comply, and the human may live. Daniel stepped forward before Serena could respond. Excuse me, Space Alexa, but no deal. I didn't crawl through 3 miles of ductwork and ruin my only decent shirt just to hand her over. Besides, you'd hate me without her. I'm unbearable company. The face blinked, confused. Serena seized the opening, flooding the core with a cascade of alien code. Sparks erupted. The face distorted, voice glitching into static. Daniel raised his wrench like a judge's gavel. Time for the final verdict. He slammed it against the Nexus casing. The crack echoed like thunder. Light burst outward, the projection shattering into 1,000 fragments. The ship went still. The hum of corrupted code ceased. Silence settled. Daniel lowered the wrench, breathing hard. Well. That was cathartic. Serena slumped against the console, exhaustion finally breaking her composure. Daniel knelt beside her. Hey. You okay? Her eyes closed briefly. I will be. Thanks to you. He blinked. Wait. Did you just thank me? Like sincerely? Not sarcastically? Her lips curved faintly. Don't get used to it. They stayed there a long moment, just breathing in the sudden calm. Finally, Daniel pushed himself up and looked around. So. What now? We've killed the drones, smashed the evil software, and I've earned lifelong wrist pain. Do we call for a tow truck, or just start a new civilization right here? I can be king. You can be, well, the one who actually knows what she's doing. She shook her head. The distress beacon is active again. A patrol will find us within hours. Daniel whistled. Hours. That's practically a vacation. Plenty of time to raid the galley for snacks. She gave him that sharp look again, the one that usually meant he'd said something ridiculous, but this time it softened almost instantly. You're insufferable, she murmured, but perhaps, useful. Daniel grinned. I'll take it. That's basically a love confession where I'm from. Her ears twitched, and for once she didn't deny it. When the patrol ship finally locked onto their beacon, Daniel stood by the viewport, watching the stars drift. He realized something then, he wasn't just the unlucky technician anymore. He'd faced drones, sabotage, and near certain death, and he hadn't folded. He'd joked, fought, and somehow kept them alive. As the docking clamp thudded into place, he turned to Serena. "Well, partner in chaos, looks like this is where we get rescued. Any chance you'll miss me?" She tilted her head, silver hair catching the glow of the incoming ship. "More than I expected." Daniel's grin softened into something real. "Same." The hatch opened, light spilling inside. Together, they stepped forward, battered, exhausted, but alive. And for Daniel, that felt like victory enough.